thing, if somebody wants Mike Duffy race cars to work on the car, one, you stay pretty booked up.
Yeah.
But some of the chassis tuning and dial in, I mean, it's kind of like when Nick and Rich go to tune a car. They have a thing that they go down, look at the car, go over the car from the front bumper to the back bumper, and then tell you what's wrong with it. Now, that's just an inspection process. So how important is that inspection process, and how much money does that save in the long run?
It's real important, and but I'll tell you what, by the time people usually bring me the car, they're usually at the end of the rope, and they've exhausted almost all their funds. But I do take credit cards, so there's we can carry on with this.
But there is no financing program.
Yeah.
We do not have a financing program
No,
at Mike Duffy Race
I don't
Car.
have. I mean, I got people that owe me money, but at the same time, I've got other people that are paid ahead. So fortunately for me, that works out pretty well. I couldn't really put a value on. Sometimes you'll look at a car for 5 minutes, like, oh, okay, well, hell, this is obviously what's wrong. Just do this and go make a lap. And maybe that didn't cost anything. I'm curious about the man's problems. But then other times you'll look at a car and, man, you don't really see anything wrong until you get it in the shop and go a little more detailed, run up on the scales, check alignment, bump steer, and then it gets a little more involved. But I have fixed cars to the track just by turning the knobs on the shocks. Sometimes it's just that simple. You'll get a lot of people that crawl in a car to adjust their fancy, expensive, double adjustable shocks. And this is real common. Y'all need to listen to this. They'll adjust the driver's side shock. Then they'll roll over and adjust the passenger side shock, but they'll turn it backwards. And you think, well, that's stupid. No, you'd be surprised the experienced people that turn their shock adjustments backwards simply because, one, they're at the track. It's the heat of the moment. They're laying on the ground. And these shock adjustments, basically it's upside down and backwards when you're laying on the back looking under your car. So it's real easy to turn one shock one way and turn the other one the other way. Over the years, there's been a lot of cars I've fixed, and it's simply that simple. They were adjusting the shocks wrong. Tire gauges, another deal. Man, I don't know how many tire gauges we've just took and thrown them out in the woods. If you got a dial type tire gauge, I promise you it's no good. So you need to get a good digital tire gauge, and then that thing will be much more reliable than your dial tire gauge.
Well, case in point, Kelly. When I let Kelly Blue Ball run Reaper that year because I was doing the races, and I couldn't do both. I'm sitting there, and they're struggling, and I had that car all lined out. His first pass in it, straight as a string, hiked the tire 6 inches, carried him about 200 feet, set him down, perfect pass. At one point in one of the races, I told him, let's double check where the shocks were. So this guy that was helping him, which strange shocks turn one way, Sandhuffs, which
turn the other way,
which
yes.
is what we both like a lot.
Yeah.
They turn the other way. Well, I told him, I said, listen, here's the starting point on that car. Go 7 off full tight on the rebound. Go 8 off the compression off full tight. Guess what he did?
Turned him the wrong way.
Went full loose.
Yeah, that'll.
And they're struggling with it, and I'm busy, so I don't know what's going on. And then at one race, I was sitting in the motorhome, and I started back out the door, and I watched as the car left. And it left, and it went left, then it went right, and then it sat down, and then it bounced the back in. I went, oh, no. And I went over there and said, let's see where these shocks are at. So how important are shocks? In my opinion, that's the most important part of that car, and knowing that shock.
They're really important, knowing the shock. There you go. There's cars come in the shop, have $10,000 Penske shocks, not dogging Penske, high-dollar shocks, Penske's, JRIs, whatever you want to use, all kinds of pneumatic adjustment for down track, all kinds of electronics. But you know what? At the end of the day, those shocks are only as good as the operator. EFI is the same way. If you don't know how to use a Holley EFI, but you know how to use a fast, guess what? Maybe you better stick with the fast or go to Holley school. Well, the shocks are the same way. I don't know how to use the Penske's. I've got several of them at the shop. We've taken off cars. They don't want to send me to Penske school. We'll put Santoffs on today and go to their track and start winning rounds because I know how to use the Santoffs. I don't know how to use the Penske's or some of these other expensive ones. I'm willing to learn, but I don't want to learn that for free. Let's put it that way.
Well, and there's a lot to learn.
There's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of people out there that do know how they think they know how to tune these other shocks, and I'm sure there's a lot of knowledgeable people out there that do tune them. But the car still ends up at my shop, or I'm on the phone with this guy talking about the problems, and maybe the problem isn't the shocks. But I tell them, hey, if you want me to work on this, one of the first things I'm going to do is put on some Santoff shocks, because that's what I use.